This week's episode of our show is sponsored by our wonderful friends at Ghostfire Gaming. If you've never heard of Ghostfire Gaming, they are a tabletop RPG publisher that produces a huge range of adventures, accessories, campaign settings, and much, much more for 5th edition.
Whether you're looking for books filled with monsters, lore, or adventures, or if you're looking for new DM screens, or dice, or cards, or maps, Ghostfire Gaming has everything that you could need to run your 5th edition games.
Some of those talented authors and artists in the tabletop gaming industry work with Ghostfire Gaming, including yours truly. So if you'd like to even check out some work that we've created in partnership with Ghostfire Gaming, you can find that all on the store as well.
So make sure to check the links below to get in on all of the amazing products created by Ghostfire Gaming. And now, on to this week's episode.
Greetings, my name is Monty Martin.
And I'm Kelly McLaughlin.
And we are the Dungeon Dudes. Welcome to our channel where we cover everything D&D, including advice for players and guides for Dungeon Masters.
We upload new videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so please subscribe to this channel so that you never miss an episode.
Today we're diving into a bit of a hypothetical. What if you and all of your players got together at the start of a new campaign and you realized, oops, everyone's playing a wizard?
In this series of videos, we're going to take a look at what it means to play a single class party. And we're going to take a look at how a party that decides to all play the same class performs in combat, social encounters, exploration, as well as take a look at some of the roleplay potential and fun ideas and maybe some of the tricks that a party that's all playing the same class could have up their sleeves to pull off some ridiculous stunts at the table.
Although it is a bit of a thought experiment, it could be a cool foundation for your next campaign. There's a lot to discuss, so let's get rolling.
We have a few rules that we're going to be sticking to as we assess what it means for all of the party to be the same class. Number one, they do have to all pick the same class, and that also means no multi-classing, and also no duplicate subclasses. Everybody's going to pick a different subclass, and we're going to talk about how to make the best well-rounded party out of that. We're going to imagine that they're playing a campaign from level 1 to 20, and they need to be prepared to handle everything that you would find in a standard D&D campaign, which is why we're going to analyze them in all 3 pillars of play, including combat, exploration, and social encounters.
And ultimately, we're going to pick 4 characters and evaluate how they rank up. And then at the end of the video, we'll give our overall ranking about how they compare overall compared to all the other classes in the game as a fun thought experiment at the end.
So with that, today we're doing all wizards. So you have your all wizard party, 4 players, taking wizards.
The Guild of Wizards,
yeah.
The Society of Arcanists.
Are
we going to wizard school?
That's so. So already the theme for playing an all-wizard party is absolutely incredible. I love the idea of wizard school or like your founding wizard guild. Yeah. You could be at like the birth of magic in your setting.
I totally love the idea. Talk about the world of Drakenheim that we've created. I love the idea of going back in time in the world of Drakenheim and playing this party as the founders of the Amethyst Academy or some of the first people that were working at that time. Like, I would have so much fun playing that, I think.
Yeah, and I for one am a big fan of the Dresden File book series, and so I imagine that you could play a team of wizard investigators. It's like you have your own investigation bureau.
Wizard FBI.
Yeah, the WBI, Wizarding Bureau of Investigation.
Yes.
And you have your little team that gets sent out to take care of magical phenomena happening around the continent.
Or your all-wizard party, because you're so intelligent, you could be the Wizard Illuminati on a quest for world domination. And I think one of the cool things right off the bat with just the wizard concept is that intelligence is front and center, preparation is front and center. I really think that an all-wizard party is a great player-driven campaign, because when you're all wizards, it's like, what is this team of mad arcanists going to do? You could even be a research team. Like, you could completely just play it as that Lovecraftian research expedition that is going to the North Pole, and all the arcanists are going to do something very foolish.
And of course, you could always just settle on the classic trope of 4 students attending wizarding school.
Yes, yes.
So this is ripe with ideas for a full campaign that we could play with 4 wizards.
Completely playable. I think on the assessment of, is this a cool concept, S tier. Style points, this is a winner.
I agree, although I do think that we will be able to come up with cool ideas for every single class. But let's be real, this is a trope that we've seen. This is a trope that we love. We love wizard investigators. We love wizard schools. We love guilds of wizards. Wizards working in groups is actually just something that you see a lot in different mediums.
Yeah.
So why not?
It's well established and foundational. So, when we are picking our 4 wizards, what 4 subclasses are you going to choose for your all-wizard party?
So I'll be real with you. This was actually, we've already been thinking on a lot of the different classes. And for some reason, this one's one of the hardest because I actually think there's an opportunity to mash almost any 4 wizard subclasses together and get something interesting.
Indeed. And you really could go with an interesting thematic basis. For example, the party that is the illusionist, the enchanter, the transmuter, and maybe the abjurer is very different from the necromancer, evoker, conjurer, and the diviner.
And for my party, I have to have a diviner in there. That's a must.
Yeah.
I went with Bladesinger because, again, we want to be good at all pillars of play, and Bladesinger is going to just help us actually dealing damage and having something on the front lines.
Totally. I think that anchoring the all-wizard party with the diviner and the Bladesinger, which already are 2 of the strongest subclasses for the class, also fulfills many of the key party roles because the Bladesinger is an incredible damage dealer, but in this party, the Bladesinger is going to be able to really focus on being the frontline damage dealer as well. So they can focus their build on the more defensive-oriented Bladesinger. They can bring more defensive frontline type spells that are going to help their survivability. And they can feel free that they don't have to be packing all the utility that normally they would also have to bring along as the wizard. They can kind of just go full into the damage dealer, tank sort of role and live in that because they know that the rest of the party is going to bring the utility.
And that's actually something that I think is important about an all-wizard party. As I talk about my other 2 choices, is usually if somebody at the table is playing a diviner, well, your diviner is still going to pack fireball. Mm-hmm. And like all of your other, they want their utility, they want their...
Let's be honest. I think the all-wizard party, everyone's still going to bring fireball.
Okay, fair enough. But the point I'm making is they can be much more focused.
They can be, but at the same time, not much is going to survive 4 fireballs.
Fair. Okay, fireball was a bad example.
But even just to analyze this, like if you are in a battle, whereas all your wizards, all of them can drop fireball, that is effectively, imagine 5th level characters, okay? All of them dropping fireball. That is basically Meteor Swarm going off. That's 36d6 damage, which is only a little bit less than Meteor Swarm. Of course, it's 4 saving throws, but if all the characters are doing that at the start of the battle, that could really decimate.
Like, good luck with minions.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as minions versus a wizard party.
And you can be hyper efficient with it because, of course, yes, it was 4 fireballs, but it wasn't one character casting 4 fireballs. It was just each character casting 1 fireball.
Now, we're going to get into some of the tricks and tactics a little bit later, but you raise a good point. The point that I'm making with the parties is when I say that I'm packing a diviner, that diviner is going to go all in on divination spells with some extra utility and things that you want to double up.
Totally.
Diviner, Bladesinger. For me, I want to put in an abjurer and an enchanter. But I will tell you, I almost feel like you could toss one of those out and throw in an illusionist really easily.
Okay. I agree with you that the diviner is essential because this party is going to be fragile and has to win the information game. So the diviner is really going to help ensure that they have the information that they need to, if this is the party that if they run into an anti-magic zone, they don't even want to go there.
Yeah.
And so they want to know that that's coming before they run into that. Backing up them, the chronologist is kind of like just having a second diviner. And
fair.
I think I'm really tempted with that. But you know what you really need with an all-wizard party? Some actual meat shields. And who better to provide that than the Necromancer?
I can't argue with that. So Necromancer is such a good choice because you get your cannon fodder.
Exactly. And that's what this party needs. In difficult situations, send in the dead.
Now, here's why I want to give points to my party. Again, I think that this is a tough choice. I don't think either of us is winning over the other. I think that any 4 wizards is going to get you there.
Yeah.
But my argument is they are a pretty squishy party. The Abjurer is going to help buff. They're going to help keep people alive. They're going to help just be an extra defensive shield. So you have your Bladesinger and your Abjurer holding up the front line, creating the wall. Then you have your Diviner, who's actually going to not only be the information gatherer, but that means that he's going to help out in exploration. Because knowing where you're going, knowing information, that helps with exploration. The Enchanter ties up our loose end of social encounters.
Yes, and I think that with my party, that is a weakness because they're basically going to be relying on kind of fixing the dice rolls between the Chronologist and the Diviner to get through social rolls, or using magic when they can.
Yeah, and I think that an Enchanter, my idea there is they're going to be the one to help out with all social engagement, because no wizard is really very charming, but an Enchanter can make you believe that they're charming.
Indeed. And I do think that there is something to be said for the Illusionist-Enchanter pairing.
Yes.
Like, that feels like... there's something chef's kiss about having both those characters in the party, and I feel like if your campaign was going to be more social espionage wizard Illuminati focused, maybe you would go that route. But the thing is that all the wizards can have all the spells anyways.
Right.
And I don't think that the illusionist really is a cut above when it comes to illusion magic.
Yeah.
The Enchanter gets some cool features at higher levels that let them target 2 enemies, but at the end of the day, an Enchanter's charm person is as good as a Diviner's charm person.
This is fair. And yeah, I guess I guess when I imagine the team, I'm thinking of like focus points, but you are right that you can kind of divvy up. Anybody can take suggestion.
There's also going to be a big overlap of intelligence-based skills here. And so I do think what you might want to do to round out the party is some characters have... Everyone's going to want to have high constitution, high intelligence. Some will have a higher wisdom, and then there'll be the perception, insight, survival as their secondary skills. And some characters will have charisma as a secondary, potentially. I think the wizards will be able to get away with not having strength and dexterity-based stuff.
Although I could see giving my Bladesinger dexterity as like their 3rd tier.
Yeah. This party is going to teleport past traps, or send a zombie to spring it.
As we move into weaknesses, I actually don't think that traps are much of an issue for this party, so they aren't really a primary weakness. We have so many spells to bypass traps or set them off.
The bigger debate is going to be who's going to use their spell to get past it.
Yeah. I mean, beyond the Necromancer summoning a bunch of minions, you also have a ton of summoning spells that can be used to just put extra bodies on the board for meat shields or for traps.
That said, hit points, armor class, and saving throws are not going to be great.
Yeah, which is why you do want some protective buffs. You want everybody to probably pack shield, which is why I like the Abjurer in the party, but also the Bladesinger can help out.
You're going to want to have absorb elements. You're going to want to have your counter spells. You're going to want to really make sure that you don't all get hit by fireballs yourselves.
And this party doesn't have healing.
No healing at all. There's creative ways around this. This definitely is a party that is going to, in general, win big. They can't really fight a war of attrition. So this party is going to want to take control of the battle, take control of the situation as soon as possible. And I definitely think with the all-wizard party, you're going to see a lot of combat encounters where they really want to avoid taking any damage if they can, just through the combination of battlefield control, good defensive magic, because they got no healing. They're going to rely on potions and whatever other magic they can find. There's not a lick of healing in this group.
So They are going to be kind of your glass cannons.
Yeah.
But for that reason, they want to pre-plan everything. And I mean, we have seen at our own table two spellcasters turn a group of giants into let's just fight one at a time with battlefield control.
Yes, strictly speaking, all of these wizards could just banish the entire opposition. They could just hold monster everything. It only takes one hypnotic pattern to disable entire encounters. And what happens when you have multiple walls of force? This is where that weakness turns into a strength, which we'll get into in a moment. But I do think that with this party, resource management is a puzzle and potentially a problem, because sometimes with this party, it might be tempting to use more magic than you need to win. I think that this group has to think carefully and not use too many spells when they probably could have won with just a handful.
From playing a wizard, one thing that I know is that when you get into combat, you're wondering what's the biggest, flashiest spell I can cast. The trick is when 4 wizards get into combat and they all blow their biggest spell slots on the biggest, flashiest spells, when really only one of them needed to and the rest could have cantripped their way through the battle, that's a loss of resources.
Anti-magic often comes up in conversations around the all-wizard party, and the first thing that I'll say is that anti-magic is generally not prevalent in a lot of adventures, and I do think that it tends to be a bit of a rug pull sort of thing in many adventures. You don't often see, like, this entire dungeon has no magic. Because, let's face it, so many of the classes in 5e are reliant on having magical abilities overall. If you want to have your entire dungeon coded in an anti-magic field, I guess this party just isn't going to go on that adventure.
That feels like a mean adventure to send an all-wizard party on, unless they knew about it. Like, it's like, guys, you have to go to the no magic dungeon now. And then they have to figure out what to do with that.
That, to me, if you're doing the wizard party has to deal with the no magic dungeon, that to me feels like the wizards have to figure out the way to disable whatever is creating that effect in order to enter that dungeon.
Aside from the really mean DM who throws that at the all-wizard party, I do think that there is a case where if you're low on spell slots, or your spells aren't cutting it in a social encounter or exploration, then you're kind of out of luck.
Yeah, you're falling back on each other, and you're reliant on also not having too much overlap. You really want to make sure that you're preparing your spells carefully. But this is a strength, because one of the really cool tactics of this party, going on into their strengths and tactics, is that wizards can share their spell books. So each character can learn 2 different spells when they level up, and then they all sit down and have a study party together, and they all copy each other's spell books. So only one character needs to be the character to learn shield, and then they just share their spell book with everybody else. Only one character needs to learn counterspell. So this means that they're going to very quickly, without needing to find other wizards' spell books, learn all the spells they need, and then be able to choose their loadouts dynamically so that there's the overlap where they need it, the redundancy where you want it, and the key pieces where you need them.
I feel like this is also the party that during long rests is sitting down by the fire, all sitting around being like, if I take reverse gravity, are you going to take,
prismatic
wall?
Yeah.
Because then we can pull off some, they will have those discussions. They will come up, and we've done videos on spell combos that you can pull off with one character and spell combos that you can pull off with 2 characters. With a party of 4, you can mix and match those all you want.
You can do that thing where one person puts the cloud kill down and the other captures the enemy in the wall of force with the zombies in there.
Yeah.
Right? You can do that where one player has set up the hazardous area and the other is going to use Thunder Wave or Gust of Wind or Telekinesis or Vortex Warp to move the enemies exactly where they need to be. There's so much tactical play that can happen here. It is almost overwhelming.
And so I think that when we actually talk about the strengths of the all-wizard party, it very much makes up for the weakness. They're going to have low hit points, but an all-caster party, once you hit level 5 and beyond, I feel like is almost unstoppable. if they get to go first in initiative, which also their initiative might not be great, so that's one thing to consider, but...
Yeah, but this is an interesting strategy here, because a diviner wizard can use their portent on someone else's spell. So if the diviner doesn't win initiative, the first wizard to act can bring the most important battlefield control spell, and the diviner can still support them.
Make it a 19 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so having a diviner in your party just shores up the battle plan. When we talk about like the fighters and barbarians, they're probably the ones who are like, run into battle, who cares? This is the party that never runs into battle. They meticulously plan each battle, know what spells each person should be casting in those battles. I feel like this is the group that predetermined, okay, whoever goes first, we need to lay down the area of effect.
Yes, there's actually like a plan. There's like a multi-stage flow chart for their battle plan. They've like scientifically worked it out with every step of the way of like, if this wizard goes first, they're going to do this. Then like almost like chess. Like, there's a certain way that chess masters play where they go, oh, I'm in this game, because they've memorized so many games and they know the board position. So this party of wizards, they're like, okay, well, the diviner's going first, so they're going to do this, which means that if the Bladesinger's going second, they're going to do this. This is the way the battle plan proceeds, like clockwork.
Yeah. I think when we talk about spells, and like each wizard is going to pack unique and different spells, but there's some areas that we definitely want to overlap spells.
Yes, like Fireball.
But I also think having a flock of familiars, not the spell flock of familiars. I mean,
literal flock of familiars.
All four wizards pack Find Familiar.
Yeah.
You now have 4 familiars, which you can use the help action, granting you advantage on a spell attack roll.
Yeah.
Anything of that sort. Or, again, if you're being meticulous and planning about it, sending your familiar in to help out the next caster land their spell, knowing who needs the familiars more.
And again, the summon spells really shine here, because conceivably every character could cast a summoning spell and double the force, the battlefield force.
Okay, and as we're talking about that, at higher levels, everybody can take Simulacrum. Now you're doubling the amount of wizards. You have 8 wizards. Clone?
And they can all clone. Yeah, they can all clone each other. They can make their demi-plane fortress. Like, the cool thing about this party is that around mid-level, they start working together and they can build their own fortress. Like, they can set up their own teleportation circles. They can layer on all their magical defenses. They can make their own extraplanar sanctum where they scry out through the multiverse for their perceived threats and then teleport and destroy it. They might not even need to go themselves. They could send their simulacrums. They could each summon a monster and send that monster to go ahead instead of them. They could bind elementals and fiends and celestials to their service. They could and this is where like the Wizard Illuminati, the Wizard Guild really forms.
This is a wild campaign idea. Like the wizards, your party stays in their demi-plane and sends out alternate versions of themselves.
Eventually they just start hiring adventurers.
Your party has become the DM. It's there's so many strengths, and once you get into high level play for wizards, I don't know what you do.
I think that with going back to like the conceptual idea of this campaign, I think that this is where you actually have to embrace the insanity of high level magic and D&D and take it to its logical conclusion. And I think that the all wizard campaign for myself, I would love to play in this campaign, but make it a campaign where it is entirely driven by the players. Like, I think that this is the type of campaign where, as a dungeon master, don't worry about the multiversal threat that is going to destroy the world. Just see what these 4 wizards are going to do to change the world. And you might not even necessarily... Now, there could be... This is where you could go with it. Have a rival wizard guild.
That was my first thought.
A rival wizard guild, wizard versus wizard. Which wizard guild will come out on top?
I also feel like this is a great party for those groups that maybe only get together every couple weeks. And so instead of a consistent plot, it's almost like they get their mission for the night.
Would be an amazing group chat party. Like, you would have so much fun with the downtime of this group.
I also imagine that you could have fun, like, once this group's set up and they're at higher level play, watching, like, they all have long lifespans. Let's just say they're all elves, or they've used
clone.
magic.
You
but
can extend your life through clone.
Okay, so they all have clones. So they could watch the rise and fall of civilizations. They could
all
decide
become liches.
whether or not they want to participate in great wars. It's like, are we going to help out with that one? And like you could have this century-spanning campaign of this secret group of wizards who decide when to interact, and like it's like by the time they're at high-level play, it's like, oh, a group of dragons is threatening to take over the world again. Do you guys want to help out? And it's like, yeah, I guess we'll send our simulacrum in.
Yeah.
So,
or if the dragons are attacking them, they just polymorph themselves into dragons and be like, "What up?"
True polymorph.
Yeah. All the we barely touched on the polymorph shenanigans. Like, you could take any individual spell. Take any spell in D&D and just ask yourself, what happens if it gets cast 4 times? Like we talked about, Fireball turns into Meteor Swarm.
Polymorph turns into a stampede of animals.
Yeah.
It just turns into like, what do you do
the
with
summoning
4
spells turn
T-Rexes?
into something completely different. Wall of Force. When there's 4 Wall of Forces, you have enough to effectively make a mini force cage.
I mean, even a simple spell like Hypnotic Pattern, the fact that you can like machine gun hypnotic patterns at your enemies, it's like, I got 3 of them, but 2 of them didn't get hit. Well, I'll also cast Hypnotic Pattern and see if I can get the last 2. Okay. I think this is an S tier group.
I do too.
Its weaknesses are made up for by how powerful it gets. Dangerous from levels 1 to like 3, I think, is when wizards are generally really squishy. I'm not going to lie, I have a wizard at my table. He's been taken out of combat more than any other player at my table. He gets knocked down to 0 when somebody breathes on him wrong. But we've hit level 6, and suddenly he's starting to like blast things out of the sky and all sorts of cool stuff. But those first few levels are when it's going to be real dangerous. But the rest of the campaign, S tier.
Yeah, I think barring the really, really gut punch, there's no magic allowed here. And even then, I think the anti-magic field situation, the wizard party almost is best equipped to handle it in a non-standard way. They're going to have to figure out a way to disable it before they can go into it. But that's the whole thing. I do think that maybe catching them unprepared, but it's like 4 super geniuses that are always watching the future. It's really hard to catch this group unprepared.
And the thing is, like, we're talking about all pillars of play. Obviously, we've mentioned a lot that in combat they can do unbelievable shenanigans. But when you talk about 4 of the same spell, it's like if you have 4 suggestions, or even somebody using the cantrip Friends is not usually the good option, but you can get your way through social encounters by just spamming Friends and then leaving before.
Weird stuff.
Like, you can use all of your social magic to figure it out. And exploration, you got spells for that too. You could use Arcane Eye, and now you have a scout. You
got your familiars for that too.
Right.
But with the all-wizard party, you have a spell for every situation. Mm-hmm. And you're gonna have it, because between the 4 of you, someone's gonna have it.
Like, if I'm the diviner, I'm worrying I might have a few battlefield control spells, but then I'm going to have like a ton of useful utility spells to help out with exploration, or maybe even social encounters, or whatever. Like, I feel like one wizard is going to be utility, one is going to be battlefield control, one is like, and you can still mix and match there.
Okay, we only talked about the illusionist. What happens when you have 4 wizards making illusions together? Overlapping fields of illusions, combined with mind control magic, combined with actual, like, imagine what you could do by using spells like telekinesis, wall of force, Bigby's hand, and animate objects in tandem with illusions.
I'm just thinking, like,
Yeah.
like 4 major images is something. 4 minor illusions is something.
Yep.
Minor illusion. You can create a smell, a sound, or a visual. You can do all 3.
Yep, you got it all.
You can make,
Even with just the cantrips, all the different ways that you could take all those, like, because you'd all be able to take an attack cantrip, but then everybody could take some of those really niche cantrips too. This is strong. It is unequivocally, bottom line, I think that this is an S tier party. I think that it is definitely harder to pilot.
This is the S tier party for people who have been playing D&D for like
I want to play this party so
5
badly.
plus years.
I want to play this. I want to play in this campaign. Like, this is my dream campaign, I think. Pretty close to the dream campaign.
I would like to say that I would love to run this campaign for you, but I'm actually afraid of what you'll do in the campaign and if I can handle it. Can I handle it as a DM?
Yeah.
I don't even know. Maybe.
Man.
I would just have to go with it, like you said.
It would be. You would really, as a DM, you would want to one-up it. And I think that if I was DMing it, I think the rival wizard guild is perfect. And make it like that back and forth. The rival wizard guild, the political intrigue, the whole thing, yeah. Or if you wanted to one-up it, here's the other antagonist for your wizard guild. Mind Flayer Colony. Elder Brains. The wizards versus the Mind Flayers.
I mean, luckily, the wizards are the best equipped to not get intellect devoured.
What if it started out as Wizard Bureau of Investigations following mysteries that are all being orchestrated by an elder brain?
Stop telling me, start writing. I'm ready. Now it's my dream campaign.
That is a cool game. That is and like imagine like all the wizards in like like they've all got like the glasses. They show up, and it is kind of like Wizard X-Files versus the Elder Brain. Yep, making that.
If you've played an all-wizard party, or if you've thought this was really cool as we think it is, please tell us about it in the comments below.
The videos that we create on our channel are made possible thanks to the incredible generosity of our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the work that we do here on YouTube and you want to get onto our Patreon-only Discord server and talk to us about your favorite all-wizard party concepts, follow the links in the description below to visit our Patreon.
And if you want to check us out playing multiple different classes, you can check out our campaign on Twitch. You can find all the previous episodes right up over here.
And we got plenty more tier ranking videos for D&D 5e right up over here.
Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and ring that bell so that you never miss an episode.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time
in the dungeon.